As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll for Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Ms. Conwell. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there any public comment?
No, Madam Chair, no one has signed in for public comment.
Seeing there is no public comment, may we move forward with the approval of the minutes? May I have a motion?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Okay. Madam Clerk, can you please read the first item?
Resolution 2023-0004, adopting various changes to the Cuyahoga County non-bargaining classification plan.
Good morning, Mr. Bushaheen.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman. Welcome to the committee, members of the committee. I'm Albert Bushaheen, Manager of Classification and Compensation for the Personnel Review Commission. The PRC approved recommending updates to the non-bargaining classification plan at their December 7th, 2022 meeting. We are requesting you approve the creation of one new classification requested by the Health and Human Services Department, two revised classifications that are routine maintenance, and one classification proposed for deletion as a result of the one previous revision you have before you. The updates were prepared by the PRC class and comp staff, who have worked extensively with the Department of Human Resources and department management teams to ensure that they're fully aware of the recommendations before you. In accordance with the PRC rules, the proposed changes were posted on our website prior to the PRC recommending them to you today. I thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you,
Councilman
Madam
Gallagher.
Chairwoman. Just what's the one HR piece? If you don't mind, give me a little description of it.
Madam Chair, Councilman, as part of our routine maintenance, we had the HR associate and the senior HR associate on that list. We had reviewed the two classifications. They were very similar as far as the essential functions, the minimum requirements. We talked to the department. Many of the incumbents in both classifications were doing the similar or the same duties. So we jointly agreed that these two classifications should be combined with one classification rather than two. We did that. So the result is we're going to delete the one senior level position.
Thank you. And just, it was a request from the Health Department, or was it from the PRC?
No, it
Initiated.
started with us because it was routine maintenance, and we brought it to the Department of Human Resources' attention, and we came to a consensus that they should be combined.
Perfect. Good job. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Any further questions?
Yes. Does this change affect anybody's pay or compensation?
Those employees that were human resource associates were at a pay grade 5. They will become pay grade 6, but the pay band is wide enough where those employees' salaries will be accommodated with this new pay grade, so it shouldn't have any effect on individual pay.
Can you talk a little bit about the budgetary impact?
None of these classification will have a budgetary impact, except for the new classification that we're asking that you approve. This was requested by Director Merriman. This is going to be a position that's going to support the management and configuration of software that they use at human service agencies. This is a new classification that will be posted if approved by you. I'm assuming, right, we always assume when we get a request to create a classification that that department has done its due diligence and that FTE is approved in their budget. And then it's human resources responsibility to ensure that they have the budget. And my understanding is they would not post it if they didn't have the monies to fill that position.
Okay.
One further question, if I may.
I'll defer.
Okay. Councilman?
On the human resources associate, with the upgrade from pay grade 5 to 6, does that mean that the incumbents could over time achieve a somewhat higher salary level than they would have otherwise?
Madam Chair, Councilman Miller, yes. So the ceiling for those folks that are human resource associates previously will have a higher max ceiling. So yes, over time, in theory, they could achieve a higher salary.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Through the chair, the application support administrator, that will be a non-union job for HHS?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Conwell, yes, all these recommendations before you are for non-bargaining positions.
And can you go over what the non-exempt, remind me what the non-exempt next to
Sure.
everything?
The exempt or non-exempt designation is part of the FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act, and has to do whether an employee is exempt from earning overtime at time and a half.
Okay, so non-exempt means?
Non-exempt means that they're entitled to earning overtime at time and a half.
Okay, thank you.
Learned something. Thank you. Okay, it looks like these positions haven't been reviewed since 2018. Can you talk a little bit about the routine maintenance schedule?
Sure. Madam Chair, we have approximately around 360, 370 non-bargaining classifications. We have a 4-year maintenance cycle where our goal is to review and update classifications every 4 years to ensure that the essential functions haven't changed, that the FLSA designation hasn't changed, that the pay grade that's assigned to it is still warranted, et cetera. So every 4 years, we look at a minimum, we look at the classification every 4 years. We also have requests that we receive from the Department of Human Resources frequently, either to create new classifications or to revise classifications because of the organization has changed, new programs have come about. So we get requests in addition to our routine maintenance that we do every 4 years.
Okay. Councilwoman Conwell?
Will any of these jobs require civil testing?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman, the testing is not my expertise at the PRC, but judging from the pay grades and the actually the minimum requirements of these positions, I believe all of them will be subject to civil service testing.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, will this go 3 full readings?
Madam Chair, yes, I'm not asking for a second reading suspension.
Thank you. May I have a motion to move this item to the full body of the council for second reading?
So moved?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you read the next item?
Ordinance 2023-0001, an uncodified ordinance providing for paid emergency administrative leave for county employees and allowing the county executive or his designee to temporarily expand the use of existing paid sick leave and unpaid personal leave of absence.
Good morning. My name is Sheba Marshall, Director for Human Resources, and we're asking to extend by ordinance to extend this paid emergency leave that's been in effect since March of 21, I believe. And we're asking that this be extended so that our employees sort of can have a final and closing date on when this emergency leave is going to end. In order to prepare for this, one of the things I did do was sort of peruse our cities and find out what other organizations were doing, how they were handling emergency leave and COVID and things like that. And I found about 9 cities out there that sort of have ended all of their programs. So employees are using their own sick time, vacation time, things like that. So I thought we could extend ours until April 30th, sort of the first quarter, get it all done, have our employees well prepared for what's coming, and give them an opportunity. So my request is to extend the emergency leave until April 30th, 2023.
Okay. Madam Director, what factors will be utilized to determine what happens after April 30th?
They're going to just use, we'll have a communication that says you just go back to using your own sick time, paid time, or unpaid leave. So back to the normal personnel employee handbook or your bargaining unit agreement. The regulations in there.
Councilman?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Can you remind me what the emergency temporary paid leave, sick leave was?
It was up to 80 hours of emergency leave used to care for yourself or to be quarantined if you were diagnosed with COVID, or if you had to be quarantined according to CDC guidelines because of a COVID exposure or someone in your family having COVID, and you had to be off and away from work. So it was up to 80 hours of paid leave provided by the county.
And thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Just one more, just, was there a timeline for it? Was you
Yeah,
allowed
it
80
ended-
hours in a month, a year?
No, it ended, well, the timeline is that you could use up to 80 hours. So let's say you were diagnosed on the 13th, which is Friday, and you needed 10 days because the CDC guidelines say between 5 and 10 days, depending on the kind of exposure. So you would start counting from the 13th, Friday, up to 80 hours if you needed it. Some people only need 5 days.
Got it.
Things like that. So the 80 hour, it was up to 80 hours.
And it didn't have to be consecutive, just 80 hours total. Could have been 2 days, 3 days, 2 days.
We didn't break it up. We counted the whole 80 as one instance.
No, if they only used.
But if they only
40
used, yeah.
40, they had 40 to use in the future if they needed it.
If they had, yeah, if they contracted COVID again.
Got it. And through the chair, just if I can get a, not right now, but how much was used throughout the time it was
So,
available?
thank you to Patrick Smock. Yes, he provided this for us. So it was a total of 1,379, I guess, instances with the average hours of about 50.11 hours. Did I say that right, Patrick? Thank you.
And the dollar amount?
We don't have a dollar amount because we'd have to multiply each person's salary times the hours that were used. So we could get one. It would take us a little bit, but we could get a
Through the
dollar
chair,
amount.
without too much effort, if it's not, just, we did something very good for our employees.
Yes.
And what impact it had on our general fund, and I think the dollar amount that was impacted was minuscule to the benefit we gave to our employees.
Yeah.
But I just want to know what that dollar amount would be.
We can get that for you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Councilwoman?
Through the chair to the director, the employees who still get COVID or a strain, what are they required to do regarding proof of COVID if they should get this after this emergency leave?
So they still will want to call off sick or whatever it is. They'll have to use their own time. But do you mean as it relates to notifying
Yes.
the county? All right. I can
We're,
tell.
I take it we're no longer following CDC guidelines, or CDC guidelines have changed.
So they've changed to go from 10 days to 5 days, but it's based on a series of what-ifs. So we have this little document that we've sent out to all of our employees as it relates to the what-ifs and how many days you should take. But the email that we sent out to all employees prior to the end of the year says, what we need is a copy of the positive test results that displays your name, test date, date of results, a letter from your medical provider that states you are off work due to COVID, and a letter from the County Board of Health where you can report where you've reported your test results to them. So they have several ways they can let us know.
I'm just worried if, now that it's turned over to the employees, will all of them notify us if they have COVID, if they, see that they're lacking some sick time or something like that. So I don't know if we're gonna handle that on a case-by-case basis. So say we had somebody that was out on FMLA and they had cancer or something like that. They've come back to work and they contract COVID from going to one of their many hospital visits and really don't have any sick time. What danger will that put the other employees if some kind of way we don't make them feel that we can accommodate? I know those are going to be rare cases, but I'm sure that they will happen. So I'm just wondering if we've put any thought into that, because while we're trying to go back to the normalization with the world, we also want to protect our other employees that are here. So just my thoughts.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman?
So, was the current policy set to expire on December 31st of 2022?
Yes, it expired then.
So, to my mind, it doesn't make sense to put this kind of change into effect on the first day of a new administration. I think that what you're proposing makes sense to provide some transitional time for everyone to get properly prepared. So I'm prepared to vote for the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Can you tell me, who determines if an employee gets to work from home, and how many times this may have happened during the pandemic?
So I don't know how many times it may have happened, but what we say to employees is that if you can work from home, work from home. But, I mean, even if you can work from home, if you're too sick to work from home, that doesn't work. So if an employee can work from home, then they do, or sometimes they don't. It's just, it depends on if they have the ability, if they have a laptop, the work that they do can be done from home, then we ask that they do. Now, whether they do or not, it's not always something that we can monitor, because they can simply say to us, I was too sick. You know, I didn't feel well, I worked 3 hours and not the other 5. But we tell them that. But as far as enforcement goes, it's solely based on that employee's health and their ability to do so.
Is there a monthly report on leave?
I don't have one now, but I can get you one, yes.
Would you? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Seeing no other questions, Madam Director, will this be going full 3 readings?
I'm asking if we can have second reading suspension of rules, and that's so that as we have employees who've asked for days off already in January, if we grant this goes back to January 1, and if we can get this done in a shorter amount of time, it's less work on our payroll to go back and do retroactive, changing the time from sick time or vacation time to COVID days.
Okay. May I have a motion to move this item to the full body of council for second reading under suspension?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the measure is carried. Thank you, Madam Director. Okay, is there any miscellaneous business? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I know, right?